Good good day, everyone. I'm so excited to have another opportunity to have an authentic conversation. Today, my guest is Alan Stevens. He is an international profiling and communications specialist, regularly featured on national TV, radio, and in the world's press, profiling the likes of our leader politicians, TV, and sports stars, as well as Britain's royalty. He's been referred to by the UK's Guardian as the leader authority on reading people globally, and the mentalist meets Dr. Phil by the Herald. Alan has worked with international clients and likes of Disney Films and Gillette and high profile organizations, while like an Australian federal police to help them understand how people tick. And now he works with business owners and executives, helping them to understand and engage their clients and prospects, enhancing their presentations and negotiation skills. And with the parents and teachers to help them enhance the ability of their children and reach their full potentials while improving the experience of parents, teachers, and students. He focuses on creating and training his own competition to the highest level and as quickly as possible. His belief is that we need more people with the skills, but they have to be well trained. And he believes he has a moral obligation to find and train the best coaches to become the leaders of their fields. He also the creator of the We Together initiative and the Campfire Project, which is a safe place for men and women to give themselves permission to tell their stories, to share their experiences and wisdom from around the world. And is the director of the Business of Smiles, helping raise mental health awareness in the workplace and around the world. He is also a non-executive director of the Central Coast Montessori Primary School, as well as being Justice for the Peace. The last 4 years, Alan has been nominated for 17 international and national local awards, in which he was selected as a finalist in 16, of which he has won 7. Business Person of the Year, Educational Person, and Overall Business for Australia New Zealand Keynote Speaker of the Year, Special Change Maker, and Man of Influence in Australia. And with that, I welcome Alan Stevens to the Authentic Conversation podcast. Okay, Stephen, Alan, how are you today? Sorry.
Pretty good. And yes, it does get confusing. Alan Stevens, I get that all the time.
And it's just like I knew that though. I want to start with okay, obviously I've just read your bio. Obviously it's you're you're not sitting on your duff doing nothing. um and I know in previous conversations you've gone through the different profiling like the DISC and NLP and different tools. How
Yeah.
did you come to this profiling as
Well, having used all the others, it was I was working with a company that taught currency trading. They brought me in because none of their students made any money. And
right?
so we used DISC profiling and Myers-Briggs and other systems, Enneagrams and others. And we had their profiles. The instructor we had was a very qualified trader, very professional, very effective, but also a brilliant instructor. But when people went live, they were still losing money. And we realized when we watched them, then when they traded, we realized they weren't matching the personality that they'd come out with on the report. And so I then realized when you ask people questions, they will try and wonder, well, what are you asking this for? What's it all about? And people will try and second guess it as well. And a lot of the traders were trying to figure out what sort of a personality they had to be a good trader. And in doing that, the end result was that they weren't acting in their own personality. But when they put money on the table, when they went live trading, their personality came out, because no matter how well you behave in a different way, when you're under stress, you'll always revert back to your own type. And I realized I needed a better way of profiling people, because the other thing too was that when you ask people questions, there's education levels, there's gender, there's all cultural backgrounds and everything else. All
Yeah.
those things come into it. So the interpretation of what you're asking completely shifts as well. And so I needed a better system. And I was actually helping another friend of mine run a spiritual retreat where we were doing a workshop, and we decided to use Myers-Briggs, using the different dichotomies to do some role play and have a bit of fun with it. And somebody at the end of that said to me, Alan, you ever looked at reading faces? Now, I'm the sort of person that, I realized, and I think it was John Wooden over there in UCLA, who had said that the most important thing you'll ever learn is the next thing you learn after you think you know everything. So on the drive home, an hour and a half to get back from where the retreat was, and all I could do was think about this, got on the internet, found Paul Ekman's group, who did all the research on the micro expressions, little twitches on the face that give away your emotions.
Yeah.
And also a lady who taught, Naomi Tickle, who was an English lady who was in California, who taught the facial features. And so I realized then that when I worked with both of them and put their stuff together, it was even more powerful again.
Yeah.
And I realized that Paul Ekman and all the other psychologists, etc., weren't looking at the facial features, because they think it's still in the days of what was it now, phrenology, which were bumps on the head and character. Whereas in Naomi's case, it was teaching people personality, not what they were thinking, but how they were thinking.
Well, and that brings up the point of, like, when you're going to be a juror in a court case, they're not just looking at the person, they're looking at your body language, they're looking at your faces, they look at like how you swear in. If your hand doesn't swear in properly, you're let go. And I know, like, many teachers I've had, they always say, if you know it all, you've stopped learning.
That's it.
And I'm like, well, I never know it all, because I'm always learning. And that's why I love these conversations, because um, I get so much out of every conversation. Like, even if, like, I know I want an audience, and it's growing, and I'm blessed to have an audience that's watching and listening and commenting. And um but I'm fascinated with every call, like how much I learn, because I'll think like, okay, well, we're going to go down this trajectory of the conversation, and it goes flying over the other side, and it's like, oh my gosh, so beautiful information. And I
That's it.
know, because of past conversations with you, you have a wealth of information on many, many things. And um and so let's dig back a little bit of, if you don't mind, if we go into a little bit of your history of, like, being married and having kids and seeing, like, what was that drive that kept you looking for the Myers-Briggs, the disc, because I'm the same way. Like, the more I can find out about me, the more I'm able to show up in the world. So what was your drive to keep going and
Well,
digging?
a lot of people will look at what their life is like and want to move away from that. So they use an away from motivation. But when they get comfortable, they start to relax, they get drawn back to it. And I realized that's what I was doing the earlier part of my life. Instead of looking at, well, where did I want to actually be?
Mm-hmm.
Not just what I want to get away from, but where do I actually want to be? That takes a little bit more courage, a little bit more thinking, etc., to actually do that. A little bit more, you've got to be more committed to it,
Mm-hmm.
because otherwise you just get pulled back. And I went through that first part of my life doing that over and over again. It was after my second divorce, like first 50 years of my life, doing it that way. And now it's over 2 decades. I've been doing the other way, moving towards things. My whole life has changed completely because of it. So it's, excuse me, it's a matter of realizing that there's so many doors that close behind us, but for every door that closes behind us, there's more doors opening in front of us. And if you're focusing on what's closed behind you, you don't see the other doors open.
Yeah.
I remember growing up, one of the mentors I had, he said, Alan, opportunities are like the local bus, the number 3 bus. It comes past every half hour. The one that you and you miss all of them because you weren't looking for them. But if you start looking for the opportunities that are coming forward, you'll
Yeah.
go, now I've got a bigger problem again. Which one do I grab? Because there's so many of them.
Yeah.
Is that
Well,
opportunities are happening continually all the time.
and it's interesting because I've used my car as a outward reflection of my body, for instance, right?
Hmm.
And for a while there, I was getting flat tires, and I'm like, "What's the flat tire about?" Oh, support, got it. And then my friend said to me after I blew up two engines, she's like, "Are you driving your car through your rear view mirror or the windshield?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" And she's like, "You're driving it through the rear view mirror. You have a whole windshield to look out of." I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Right? It's these
that's
little
it.
idiosyncrasies that we don't even know we're doing. But I have to say, in my case, and maybe yours too, when you're looking for things like DISC or Morris Myers-Briggs or any
Hmm.
of these programs, you're willing to do the deep dive
Hmm.
to become humble, right? The good, bad, and the ugly get shown, and you go, wow. And one, I don't remember which one, but one of those programs kept on saying one of my strongest traits was control.
Hmm.
And I'm like, that's an awful thing, right? Because my whole life I've been trying to give up control. And then I realized without control, there's chaos.
Exactly.
Right. And so I go, oh yeah, I go into that room and everyone's like, I don't know what we're supposed to do. I don't know what it's supposed to do. I'm like, you do this, you do this. And I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, I like that control, but I don't see that as controlling. I'm saying it's like, are
Mm.
we all
But
just
the
gonna be,
problem is the words we use and the inflection we put on it because,
yeah,
well, if I ask a couple, for instance, like what's important in their marriage, they both might say loyalty. And you go, okay, now you ask each of them, what's the definition of loyalty? To one partner, it might be that, well, my husband and that he never looks at another woman. That's loyalty. In his view is that when he might be traveling and when he's out, a bit of flirting and things like that, he's still loyal to his wife because he's not cheating on her, but that's his belief. So the interpretation of the words themselves, we get so caught up on the words and then we blame the other person because their interpretation doesn't match ours.
yeah. Well,
This
and
is the
I
problem
and
with those programs. We put people into boxes
yeah,
and then we give them labels. So this is why I like the face profiling because, well, with DISC and Myers-Briggs, all of those, you have to ask questions. So you're limited by age, you're limited by education. The emotions that the person's feeling at the time will affect it. And the questions, the way they answer it today, if they're happy, will be different to if tomorrow when they answer it because the interpretation of the words will change as well. So those platforms are accurate in the moment. Whereas the facial profiling, if you're looking at the facial features,
hmm,
then the way they work, by the way, if you lift weights, you're going to build muscles. So if you do bicep curls, you'll build your biceps.
yeah,
If you do it with your hand up or you do it with your palm down and lift the weights, you'll get different structure in the muscles.
yeah,
So, and at the same time, everything we feel inside, we express outwardly. So our emotions, through our expressions and our body language. So when you're sitting there and concentrating and thinking, you're going to pull the same expression over and over. Like I get
yeah.
these little vertical lines here because I'm doing this all the time. And so I'm working
I
the
know.
muscles over and over. You're going to develop those. So if you're happy or sad and I'm looking at you, I'm still getting exactly the same read. And because I'm looking at all of that, even if I'm happy or sad, I'm still going to read you exactly the same. And I'm then going to see you
Well,
where you fit on the world scale. So I can then change the way I like to be spoken to match the way that you do, which is far more respectful than taking you out and sticking you in a box and saying that's who you are when you're not. And that's one of the reasons why I realized I had to move away from Myers-Briggs and DISC and move to something else that was far more respectful to the person I was actually profiling. They
and
work if the person wants to get the answer, but
mhm.
those who feel they have to do it, especially in job interviews, etc. This is why there's such a massive turnover in people that you employ. They don't last long enough because they didn't match the personality because of the way they answered the questions. They answered it and matched it, but their true personality doesn't match the role.
Right. And I've had those conversations with recruiters by saying stuff, hiring off of the resume, hire the
Yeah.
person that's in front of you. Like the resume will get you called in for the interview,
Hmm.
Yet you might not even find the person that's the perfect match if you're not networking to say, I am filling this role, but you're looking for a totally different person. Like if you go by, different characteristics. So this is fascinating because I've always been a person who tells what's going on my face. Like if I don't like anything, like you'll know exactly what I'm
Hmm.
seeing. Right. And I also notice too, like when I'm having these conversations like with someone like you or whatever, I'm a lot more conscious of what my face is doing. Right. Because I'm like, I don't know, is he read me? And I'm like, no, he would like, right. So, like,
Well, the thing is that while you're thinking about, what's my face telling, too late, it's already done
I know.
because there's no way of controlling it. You can, if you focus on the face and you're really thinking about it all the time, you may be able to do it to a degree,
Yeah.
but the body language will give it away.
Yeah.
Like I've noticed in a video with Barack Obama, he's very good at controlling his facial expressions, but his body gives it away. You'll see a twitch of his arm. If somebody said something and he's angry about it, there'll be a little twitch. So you can't control everything.
Yeah.
But what happens is when something is said about it around us or something happens around us, we unconsciously respond, and then our conscious mind steps in and shuts it off. Think about you're walking down the garden and you see something out the corner of your eye. There's a
Hmm.
natural feeling of fear, first of all. This is part of our survival technique because it could be a snake, especially if it's rolled up, something rolled up
Oh,
and ends up being the hose. But we
yeah.
had that initial thing, then we have a look and we realize what it is, and our emotion changes straight away to relief or whatever it might be. And what could be anger that somebody's left something there that you might have told the kids to put the rake away, for instance,
Yeah.
and you saw that sticking out of the bush. And so surprise, for instance, will be very quick and then it will roll onto something else. Anger, fear, amusement, whatever the situation is. So we've got no way of controlling that, not completely. And so this is one of the reasons why it's one of the best ways to pick up somebody's emotions.
Hmm.
If you think about the body language, we might be able to control stuff close to us, but our hands and our feet are the ones that give us away the most. If I'm looking there talking to you, we're face to face in a real situation,
Yeah.
and I'm talking to you, I might be nodding that, but if my feet are facing towards the door, there's a good chance I want to leave. So it's a
Interesting.
combination of things. So, and people talk about folded arms and they go, oh, and this is the other problem too. People generalize again, and I'm going, hang on, no. You've got to look at things in clusters. You've got to look at them in if they're congruent and in context, because it's a combination of everything. I'll look at your facial features and I'll look at what stands out the most, and I'll look at what stands out second. How does that moderate or enhance the first one? Each trait tells me something, but your overall personality is a combination of all those traits. And it's the same thing with the body language and expressions. When I was growing up, we used to have little plaster ducks that were put over above them on the mantelpiece. There was a big one at the bottom, little one, then a smaller one again. And it was
Yeah.
like they were flying off into the distance. And I remember growing up, we always used the term, get your ducks in a row. And that's
Yeah.
where that came from.
Yeah.
So same thing with reading people. Folded arms means that, well, people will say, oh, the person switched off. I've got torn tendons in my shoulder at the moment. So to rest my arms in a folded position takes the pressure off. And so I'll do that while I'm talking to people. But what's the rest of my body language telling you?
Yeah.
If I'm leaning forward, my feet are facing towards you, I'm nodding, and everything else is open towards you. But this is like that. It's just because I'm more, or it could be that you're of a level of somebody who intimidates me. So I'm giving myself a warm hug. What I look for is a change.
Interesting.
If I'm talking to somebody who's doing that, and all of a sudden they drop their arms, I know my rapport has increased with them. So I look
Right.
for the changes, not so much what that thing is. Entertainers will get up on stage and say, hey, if you've got your arms folded, this is what it means. And they'll actually play to that because they'll get the audience responding and everything else.
Hmm.
They'll talk about particular colors they're wearing, and that means this. Well, it could be that
Yes
I
and
put
no.
that color on because it was the only thing in my cupboard that morning. Everything else is in the wash.
Yeah.
There's myriad of different reasons, but what's the combination of everything together? And
Yeah.
that's the important part of it. And that's why we are complex beings. When it comes to reading people, we can realize that everybody is insecure or has suffered in some way. everybody wears a mask. Everybody pretends they're not wearing a mask. That includes me as well.
Yeah.
And everybody is a combination of how they've decided to respond to all the events in their life. So we're
Well,
all complex beings, and we realize with that once we understand that, this is where the humility comes in as well. And also we have pride at the same time. Pride and humility go hand in hand. They're not opposites to each other. If you can be proud of the work that you're doing, but still be humble about it at the same time. When you get that balance, life is a lot easier as well.
well, and I might be characterizing this a little bit, but I find like in the last probably 4 years or so, more and more men are growing beards, right? And I've always had the impression that when the world is in chaos, you grow the beards because as you play with it, you get grounded. And that's why it's more interesting too with women who are trying to be in the masculine corporate world and their hair is getting shorter and shorter and shorter. And I'm like, no, we need it to ground us. And no use having really long hair if you're keeping it up because you may as well not have it. But
Well,
I mean, that could be a generalization on my own. Like
yeah, well, a lot of women, if they let their hair down, also feel more comfortable when they let it down as well. It's put up because they feel there's a role they have to play. But
yeah,
when it comes to the beard, for instance, it was because of COVID. I had a beard when I was very young,
yeah,
in my late teens, early 20s, etc. But when COVID came, I just got lazy because we couldn't get down the shop. So I ran out of razors. I just thought, I'll let it go, and I let it grow.
yeah,
And the only reason I kept it was in the Campfire Project. One of the my co-host said to his son he wanted to interview him, who was 9 years old at the time. And young Oscar said, well, what's that going to be like? He said, oh, the way Alan does profiles. He said, oh, Papa Smurf. And so now I'm known in boardrooms around the world as Papa Smurf. And I bought it. I've taken ownership of that because, as it was explained to me, somebody who takes care of their tribe, that looks after people. And if I thought about the way I was working with the Campfire Project, the Business of Smiles, the charity that I've got, and other things, it's the people that I'm working with that are giving value to my life.
yeah,
So I wear that, kept it for that simple reason, that it also helped to ground me in another way, reminding me of this is who I am, this is what I'm here for. So when I get pressures and everything else, I go back to think like this, all
yeah,
those memories come back and I get grounded. But
yeah.
it was a different
So it
reason for
is.
why I got it.
So
Yeah, it is a
I'm not
grounding thing.
I'm not pulling it out of thin air.
No.
Okay, cool. You brought up the campfire project.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about that because I
Yep.
think it is what I understand of it and um an amazing project. It's amazing to bring community together, um, making it an absolute safe space for whatever anyone has to share. And I believe this is where we are going as a world, as a community, as it's not them and us anymore. It's a
Mm-hmm.
collective we, and we're
Yeah.
uniting. And I believe this project, from what I know, is that we in unity.
Mm.
So, can you share a bit about it, please?
Yeah, well, I created the hashtag we together for that simple reason. It's only when we're together looking at a problem, shoulder to
Mhm.
shoulder, that we can fix it. When we look at anybody else as a problem, then we're never going to fix the problem.
Mhm.
At the moment in Australia, in Victoria, the Premier down there, who's like your governors of your states, has put somebody else in power who's in Parliament, who is now going to look at the behaviour of men to get men to change their behaviour. That sort of attempt is going to create a bigger problem than we've got. Because when you keep pointing the finger like that at people, they take resentment to it and they pull back. Every decent guy is now starting to wonder, we keep getting pointed fingers at us for doing the wrong thing, but I'm not doing the wrong thing. But I keep getting blamed like everybody else. So why should I bother? All those charities that are out there that are working just specific areas, the inclusion and diversity and everything else, the problem there is because they're not totally inclusive, they are still restricted in who they will actually have in their groups, are pushing other people out, and that's why they're not getting any unity. So I realized that when I was talking to men in business in particular, and I would ask them, what, tell us about your home life and your work life. If there was one word to describe them, what would it be? And I got the words that kept on coming back were frustrated and confused.
Oh,
And when I
wow.
said to men, well, tell me about the confusion. And they said, well, when at home, our job was to be the providers. It's always been that way, right back to tribal times. And men would go out, risk their lives and everything else to bring back the food, the wealth for the family. We go to war and we put our life on the line. Men got their value by putting their life on the line, but valuing their wives and their children and everything else. That's why we did it. So they were out bringing in the resources, but they were being told, you're physically and emotionally absent. And so they went, we can't be in two places at once. So if they were home, then they're in trouble because they're not bringing the resources in. So they're out there bringing the resources in, showing their love for the family by being absent, and they get put down on that one. They said, we can't be in two places at once. In the workplace, all the recalls for gender equality and political correctness and everything else, they believe that, yes, we need to look after all those things. But what's been said today, what you're able to say today, you can't say tomorrow. The goalposts kept on being moved faster than they could actually be kept up to date. So they were frustrated and worried about that. So the end result is that frustration in some cases led to bullying in the workplace and even domestic violence.
Yep.
Because when you're pushed into a corner and you can't make a decision of what, you can't go, I can't do anything about this, but I'm going to be continually blamed, there's going to be anger and frustration. So that started creating a lot of things. I thought, right, you don't fix a bully by beating a bully up. You have to understand them. It's not a matter of condoning what they're doing or accepting what they've done, but understanding why they've done it. And so I realized that the men needed a safe place to be able to tell their stories. But I never wanted to be a men's group, so I got women in the group from day one as well. But I wanted to interview the men first of all, because if I interviewed the men wouldn't get up and talk, because the women do it so well, talking about their emotions, and the men would have felt even more put down, more insecure to do it. So I started interviewing the men first of all, and listen to their stories without judgment, without criticism, without counselling. Just to be the eyes and ears. They knew that somebody finally was listening to them. And the amount they actually opened up and shared was incredible. Then I thought, rightio, now it's time to bring them together in panel discussion. So when I had about 30 people, men around the world interviewed, we started the panel discussions and we talked about masculinity, femininity, drugs, alcohol, all those subjects. Nothing was off the table.
Yeah.
And that was when the women started sending me personal messages. I was hoping for it and I was praying for it. And it happened. They said, well, we love these guys. We've never heard them talk so deeply about their emotions, nor so wisely about how to improve society. Is there any way we can get involved? Yes, please, tell your stories. So I brought the women into the one-on-ones, brought them into the panel discussions. We then started talking about things like menstruation, menopause. Does size matter in the bedroom? Now, with all the full selection of all the gender identities, the different cultures, the different religions, we've never had any bigotry, sexism, or racism. We've had over 600 hours of video conversations, and not once has anybody been disrespectful to anybody else. And you can imagine on a conversation like, does size matter in the bedroom? Then, yeah, you'd expect some things out of that, not once. It's been, and the men and the women, the actual way they talk about each other now, and talk about the two genders, it's full respect for each
Well, and
other.
I
And a lot
think
of them actually created joint ventures.
it comes also as you taking down the walls so each side can understand.
That's it.
And speaking as a woman, we're not taught about to be a woman, right? So
Yep.
so we can't get mad at the men in our life when we have no idea what's going on either.
Well, if you think about it, men, there's no rites of passage for them anymore. I'm involved with an Aboriginal group, and I've been doing that for well over 2 decades now, and it's taking boys through their rites of passage.
Well,
the biggest problem we've got today is the number of divorces, and when couples divorce, the children quite often become a weapon between the two of them.
yeah.
At the same time, And this is what they don't realize. If one partner is putting down their child, or putting down the ex-partner, and their children are listening to it, they're virtually telling their children that half of them is no good.
Yeah.
And that sooner or later, they may, be able to get a bit of revenge on their partner by really putting them down, but they're going to lose the respect of their child as well. So they're damaging themselves just as much.
Yeah.
The biggest issue, and that is, okay, if you can't live with somebody, fine. But you brought those children into the world together. You have a responsibility together.
Yeah.
So when my first wife left, I had 3 boys to raise on my own. They were 4, 11, and 12. The first thing I realized a little bit later on, took me a while to realize, because I was angry as well. She told me I wasn't good enough to be a husband, good enough to be a provider. But then that sort of be broken a little bit because I kept the boys. So I was providing.
Yeah.
Wasn't providing for her.
Yeah.
So that
And
was
that's
my saving
okay.
grace.
So I just want to slow you down a bit, because that's okay, but that doesn't
Mm,
mean either party has the right to
mm.
leave and put the kids in the middle and make them tug of wars.
That's it. Well, see, I realized that.
Even though they have agreed to that
Mm,
dynamic, it's like, okay, it didn't work out. We're not supposed to be married, but we can be
mm.
friends because we love our kids,
That's it. See, one of the
right?
things I realized that my boys, if they didn't respect their mother,
Yeah,
how in the world were they going to respect other women, the
yeah,
partners they were going to be getting? And so I realized that I had to build a relationship with her to make sure that the boys would see that and realize that they loved her. Your children will always love you. And that's one of the reasons they get so angry with you when you're not living up to a certain style, but they still love you. And they're going, hang on, I've got to love somebody who's doing the wrong thing. So that causes anger.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
I realized that
they might love you all the time. They may not like you for
it
the
may not
actions
respect
that
you as
you're,
well.
yeah,
Mm.
for the
And
actions
so,
you're showing.
and she had actually said to me one day, because I was going through my own rites of passage and that from boyhood to manhood around the age of 50. And she said, because my youngest son had moved back with her when he didn't really like my new wife that I had. It was only a short marriage again. So that was another reason why I've changed the things I was doing, because I had to learn a lot from all those experiences. But the end result was that he would fight with her on a regular basis. I'd take him out bush, we'd go camping, he'd come back respectful, and then after a little while, he's back to fighting with her again.
Yeah,
And she said to me, well, he doesn't love me. And I said, yes, he does love you, but he just doesn't respect you.
yeah,
Now, he needs to learn that respect. And obviously you haven't been able to get that because you've been trying to do this for ages. I said, it's not a woman's job. This is a man's job, and it's a father's job. So I said, I'm the one who has the biggest problem with you. So it's my job to actually take him through, to teach him how to treat a woman correctly. See, one of the biggest problems we've got today, where we've got all the abuse against women, or the most, what do you call it, violent crimes against women that are perpetrated by males, 80% of them are perpetrated by men who had no father. This is why we need,
oh, okay, okay. I see where you're going.
yeah, so we need that male role model. As I say to some of
And but it
the,
but the male role model doesn't have to be the father.
exactly.
It can
That's
be
what I say to the
anyone
women. I
in the
said,
tribe.
yeah,
Yeah,
you don't have to get a woman in. And by the way, I realized that it wasn't my job to turn my sons into men. My job was to get them ready for that. Because
yeah,
if I was the one who took them into the manhood role, what they're doing is they're observing from me.
yeah,
The only person they would be getting that from would be me. They
yeah,
wouldn't have their own identity. See, the whole idea was, this is why men and women are so, we're completely different to each other, but we are so complementary. We are not the same. We should have
no,
the same rights and everything else. I agree with that. But we have to look at each other as different. We are complementary. When a child is first born, those first few years, 7 years or so, talk about 7-year cycles. The first 7 years they're with mum. This is where they get the full on nurture and the protection and everything else. They can run around, they can make noise, because it's not going to affect the hunting that the men are doing. From 7 to 14, the boys will spend time with the grandfathers that used to be in the tribal situation, because grandfather
yeah,
wasn't out hunting anymore, or couldn't move quick enough. But so they would spend more time with their father and their grandfather, and they would learn from them, get ready, because that role was to get them ready from the full-on love they had to the tough love they were going to get from the other men. At the age of 14, they would go out with all the other men. And at that point, they would start looking at those men and go, I like that bit of that personality, that character. I like that. I like that. Don't like that. And they would create their own identity. which was
Yeah.
uniquely different from everybody else. And I realized that if my sons were clones of me, they would have to wait until I fell off the perch before they had their own identity. And that's one of the things that
Well,
I realized, because when I was about to turn 50, I was on my 50th birthday, I was cutting the birthday cake and I stalled as I was doing it because my father died when he was 49. And so
wow.
as I'm cutting the cake, he was 49, I was 3 years old, so I never really knew my father. But I'd always heard the stories about him. So that's what I tried to live up to all the way through my life. So as I'm cutting the cake, I stalled and I just realized I've now outlived my father. I can no longer live on what the stories of him. I had to now create my own stories.
Well,
And
that's
so
okay.
God, I felt
This,
lost at
oh,
that point.
sorry, this conversation is going like helter skelter all over the place. Awesome. But okay, so I always say respect is given when you've earned the right to have, like, it's like you just not given respect because if you, how am I trying to say this? Like, I give respect to somebody who's showing that they have respect for themselves,
Mm,
right? If they don't have respect for themselves, then I'm like, why am I going to respect you? You don't even respect yourself. On the other hand, when you're saying about losing your dad so young, so you've now passed your dad in age, you have to make your own stories. Then I look at all these Holly weirders having kids at 70, and I'm like, why? Right? Like, and that's a whole different subject. I
well,
just,
again, it's, for me, I was thinking of that. Well, there's a case of then, am I going to be around as they go through those different ages, and what other men are around if I'm not around?
yeah,
Who's going to be there? You know, as I say to a woman, you don't have to have a male in your life, like personal life, but
yeah.
you have to have, if you've got young boys in particular, you've got to have other men around. At the
Like you
same
have
time,
brothers
if you've
or,
got daughters, it's good to
yeah,
have other men around as well, because, well, the dad's role for his daughter was to set a standard so she could look at it and go, that's the sort of man I want to marry. It's not Freudian thing where you got this sexual thing for your parents and that. It's a case of, no, that's the quality of a man. That's the
yeah.
standard I'm going to set. And if it's a high enough standard, lo and behold, anybody who comes up, any male who comes up who doesn't meet that standard will go, not interested.
Well,
Next.
but even like, so I've seen this in people I know, like growing up with single moms, or even if they did have their dad in their life, the dad not being involved,
Mm,
right? And then you go, well, that's why you're just going from person to person. Like, and then that's where I can't bring it back to respect. Like, have enough respect for yourself
mm,
to say, do I even want a third date, let alone 3 years with this person? And it's like, when I look at somebody, can I have 1,000 meals with them? No. Well, they're not even probably getting a second date. Like,
mm.
right?
That's
And
it.
if I can't have 1,000 meals with you, you definitely will not be having a third date. But we could be friends. I'm
Mm,
always open for friends, and so you got to think about it as the long term. Is this person someone you want to sit across with or sit beside for 1,000 meals? And
yeah.
if it's not, then know what you're having or cutting it off right away, right?
Yeah, and see, that's where we looked at the towards motivation, but and away from motivation before, because when we're looking at living it moment by moment, we just think, oh, it's fine right now, but we're not looking at the long term,
I know.
and that's what we need to be looking for. Because the long term, we're looking then out at what we actually want to create, and as long as we're looking at that, then we move closer and closer to it.
Well, but
But
that brings us back to how we started this conversation
mm,
with are you doing the testing in a centered space or in an anxious space, in a fear space? Like, where are you doing the testing? And it's just like, so if you're looking for that person to spend your life with, are you present to what you want? Do you even know what you want? Or are you running off the old stories of the past of
mm,
your life that didn't work? Or are you so far in the future that you're like, well, if I hope hard enough, it might work? No, it's like right? And so it's being back to the present and bring it back to what do I truly want for me and that partner, so together we can shine bright.
Hmm. See, as I said, we're different to each other, and the beautiful part of it is we're complementary. When to have a partner around with me, etc., and going through those things, I finally get an opportunity to experience that part of me that I couldn't experience if I was on my own.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you lived on an island by yourself, that's all you're actually doing. You don't know what it's like to communicate with other people. You don't know what it's like to raise children or whatever it might
Yeah,
be. It's only in those situations that we get to experience it. And so we don't know our full qualities until we're put into a situation. So when we are together, what we can actually create is exponential from what
yeah,
we can do as separate from each other.
yeah,
So it's not the other person completes me, the other person complements me so that
yeah,
I can now experience the parts of me that I never could experience on my own. And
yeah,
together, this is when we have that, no, it's not codependence or anything like that, it's interdependence.
yeah. Well, and it's also you're attracting that partner, whether it's business, like personal, like whatever, those partners, because they're going to see things in you that either elevate you or push your buttons.
Mm,
But you're asking for that because that evolves us all to better human beings,
that's it.
right?
But really
And
respect
it's
yourself.
so let's go back to the part where, you're in the fire chat and
Mm.
people are frustrated. They're just like, we can't keep doing this. Do you feel it's part of where we are right now as the world is changing so fast, growing so fast? Like the old ways just don't work. So it's like that friction. Like, how are we going to move forward?
Well, one of the biggest problems is we're all told what we're supposed to be doing. And I ask, well, who the hell is telling us what we should be
Yeah.
doing? What's their agendas, etc.?
Yeah.
The Everything that we look out for on the outside, we should be looking inside. And everything we're putting on the inside, we should be looking outside. If we just took that and said, okay, on everything I'm doing now, I just do a 180-degree turn
Hmm.
and do it differently. Now, to be able to build relationships with other people, I had to build a relationship with me first.
Exactly.
As I said, the first 50 years of my life was out there trying to create relationships myself. So I was chasing relationships for me, and none of the relationships really worked.
Yeah.
But when I started the Campfire Project, I was helping other people with the profiling work I was doing with the face profiling. It never happened with DISC or Myers-Briggs, but with the face profiling, I really started focusing on other people. And when I focused on other people, the intention went off of me and onto them. And as they say, you can't light someone else's path without lighting your own.
Yeah.
And that's really happened. So as I was helping these other people, listening to their stories, helping people in business and that to grow their business and all the rest of it, focused on them, all of a sudden I've got relationships all over the world
Yeah.
because of the Campfire Project and the clients I've used around and the companies I've worked with around the world. There isn't an airport, a major airport that I could fly into. There was somebody would be there to meet me.
Yeah.
That wasn't something I set out to do. I set out to look after the individual I was talking to at that time, treat them with total respect.
Yeah.
It's like even on my phone, call waiting, somebody else is on the line. I have that removed every time they put it on because
Oh,
anybody
I
I'm
know.
talking to right now is the most important person in the world. Any
Yeah.
distractions outside of that, I'm telling them that they don't matter right now because something else does.
Yeah.
And there's nothing more just rude than that is somebody who's on, I don't even know who's on the call, on the second call that's coming in,
Yeah.
to say to them, oh, I've got to answer this call. It's just told them, hey, there's somebody I don't even know who it is, but they're more important than you.
Yeah.
These are the things we've got to start looking at and be more present with the people that we're talking to. As I
Well,
said, I've had all these people in the Campfire Project tell me the different stories. We've had all the different, as I said, I've had men who, or males who are trans, what do you call it, the right word?
transgender.
Yeah, well, they've transferred to females, females
Yeah.
who are transferred to
Transgender.
males.
Yeah.
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 And so this is one of the problems as well, because the first thing that went through my mind, am I being politically correct? No wonder we make so many mistakes when we're so worried about what we're saying. But
Well, they
in
don't
this,
even know. Like I
yeah,
swear to like I said, you guys are so confused with how many labels and
mm,
like things after your name that you have to do. Like they don't even know. It's gotten so
yeah,
crazy for them. And I've also talked to recruiters who say they don't put resumes forward if you have the pronouns. And I go, why? And they
mm,
said, because the companies are saying they're too hard to work for with.
mm,
And I was like, oh,
that's it.
interesting.
Yeah. So with that, where was I going with that?
Sorry.
It doesn't
I
take
know
much
that's what
to,
I'm saying. Like this
uh,
conversation can be hours and we'll still never touch the top of the surface. Um,
yeah. But yeah, no, what was the question you asked me
well,
before?
no, but we were talking about
Mm,
like the different profiles and the transgender, and it's like
mm.
how do we
Oh, that's right. When
speak?
I was talking
How
to
do we
these, that's
speak
right,
when
now
we
remember
can't?
now.
Yeah, right.
When I interviewed those people and they told their stories, I listen to understand people, I don't listen to respond to them. And so when they were talking, that I was totally engrossed in what they were actually saying. So I was looking for similarities and understanding. That gave me a connection with them. Then
Mm-hmm,
when they talk about the stuff that's completely different,
mm-hmm,
I can understand it, not judging it, not
mm-hmm.
saying it's right or wrong or anything else, but getting to know them. I remembered when I was first started my apprenticeship, I worked with our national telephone carrier at the time. I was 16. I remember one of our instructors would say to us, "What am I going to learn you today?" And I always thought that was bad grammar. But then I got an understanding as it went along that he would have to, because I'm a full-time learner, but a part-time teacher. I have to learn from everybody so I can then deliver and teach to them the most effective way. Someone who comes in with the arrogance, I'm going to teach you today. I go, no, I want to come in, get to know those people because I need to know how they need the information delivered. So this is one of the reasons why the profiling, if I can see your face straight away, I know how much information you need. I know how it needs to be delivered. I know what things are going to push your buttons. I know how much space you need before I even walk up to you. Everything to make you feel comfortable, to connect with you in a really respectful way, to
Yeah.
build a relationship. So all of that is necessary when you're teaching somebody. So therefore, I'm a full-time learner, but a part-time teacher. And then when I got involved with the Aboriginal group, one of the elders there made the same statement. We were all sitting around the campfire, and he said, I'm going to learn you. And everybody sort of looking at him, and I had a big grin on my face. And he looked at me later and he said, "What was the grin for?" I said, "It reminded me of when I was 16. Now I'm
Yeah.
close to 50." Of one of my instructors, and he said, "You understand what I was talking about?" I go, "Yeah." You can't teach somebody unless you actually learn them first, understand them. You have to know them. And
Yeah.
so once I realized that, everything I do with those conversations was get to know somebody, because I can't fully judge somebody and make a valid judgment. All I'm going to do is be judgmental if I don't do that. On social media, they're saying now that when somebody starts talking about an issue, the average time before somebody jumps in and tells them what they should be doing is 19 seconds. How much information? Anybody who does that jumps in without asking you more questions, you might as well say they're just treating you with disrespect. And I think a lot more people should take that attitude. Hey, you just jumped in. I've started talking. You've jumped in with a solution. You have not asked me a single question.
Yeah.
So what you're talking about is you. You're not talking about me, and that's totally disrespectful.
I
And
did
make
that the
those
other day.
comments to them, because when people jump in, there we go. One finger pointing, three fingers pointing back
Yeah.
at where the real problem is, because people don't, men in particular, we're not really good with the emotional empathy. But the trouble with women are very good with emotional empathy, but the trouble with it is if you sit in that emotional empathy, you will take a side. And so when you stay in the emotional empathy, you then create a bigger problem. But men like to jump in and fix a problem because we don't like the emotional empathy. We don't feel comfortable with it. So we want to fix it. But if we stop long enough to respect the fact that, yes, we recognize the emotional empathy, recognize that it's valid and everything else, and then say, okay, now can we fix it? So that transition between, but we just got this separation. That's why men and women clash so much.
Mm-hmm.
I want to look at it and go, okay, I want to understand what's going on, but I don't want to sit in there and dwell in it, because you'll end up, because we're emotional beings, we will take a side. And when we take a side, we've actually created a bigger problem.
And that brings me to a conversation that I was having with the gentleman the other day who was saying, how do I support my wife? And I said, in what way? And he goes, well, like he's now retired and she's not, right? And he sees that she's coming home from work just beat up by the corporate world. And I said, hold your arms out and let her fall. And he's like, what? And I go, she just needs to know she's safe when she comes home.
Yeah.
So open your arms. Don't ask any questions. Just let her fall in. When she's ready, she'll talk. Right? It's just those simple nuances that we think, well, we got to do things. We got to do that. And it's like, no, just hold them. And that's one thing I have to say is that I truly think one of my superpowers when I'm working with people is I hold the space as a safe container for them to be. Like how you say you're doing the facial profile, I say, I want to find your light. Let's unpeel the onion so this light that you actually can come out. Right? And it's like I so agree with everything you're saying. And I just can't wait till the world starts listening to us.
Oh, wouldn't that be wonderful?
Right? Because it's like even just the infighting, the like who's the bully, who's not the bully, who we all came onto this earth to learn the lessons we've had to learn. Yes, horrible things have happened. I'm not discrediting that. Right? Yet when you can forgive self for whatever happened because you chose it, you're the creator of your own life. No one else can create it for you.
That's it.
Right? And as you're saying, like you come to the fire, we look within, we hold the space. There's no judgment. We're all here loving.
And I've had a lot of practice at this now with a number of people that come in and tell their stories. Quite often they'll say to me, look, I have never spoken about what I'm feeling and that to anybody. Their spouse, their friends, their family, their counselors, their psychologists, psychiatrists, etc. And once I start talking, within 5 minutes, they're running with it. And I'm lucky to get another word in edgewise in the next 45 minutes. Yeah. And they come out of it and they say, well, look, that's the best therapy I've ever had. Fine. They feel great because somebody's really listened to them, made that safe place for them, so they're able to let it out. And they want to thank me. And I go, no, if you want to thank the therapist, get off the call, go look in the mirror and say thank you to your unconscious mind because you're finally listening to yourself. It's been screaming at you all this time, but your conscious mind hasn't been listening. But every one of those conversations, I have learnt so much from those people. I've looked at the world in completely different eyes. Yeah. When I was a surf lifesaver, my job as a club captain of 3 beaches or zone supervisor of 3 beaches and club captain of 1, I was involved in the examining all the 9 and 10-year-olds who were doing their bronze medallions. And I would ask them how they were seeing the surf. But my God, I got to look at the surf in a completely different way. And people say to me, who have been your greatest teachers? It won't be the Jim Rohns or the Tony Robbins or any of those sort of people.
It's the 10-year-old
will be the everyday people because those everyday people taught me so much more about life than somebody who's up on stage playing a role. And so, those kids, I learned so much from them. One of the oldest people I've interviewed in the Campfire Project, I told everybody I was doing a TED talk because his name was Ted Hughes, and he was 99 years old at the time. And the youngest person to actually conduct an interview was young Oscar, who interviewed his father, who was my co-host in there, and Oscar was 9 at the time.
Nice.
So the range has been from 9 to 99. And in those conversations, what comes out of people, I'm in awe of, young Oscar, he's going to eclipse his father, who's already eclipsed me in the Campfire Project. Because everyone's role, this is what we need to look at, is that in business, the role of a business person or a leader is to develop other people to do the work that they've been doing and don't want to do, to be able to do it better than they've been doing it.
Yeah.
Because this old catch cry of go work on your business, you can't do that unless you've got people in your business working in it. The only way to do that is to make them feel that they belong, they contribute, they're valued, that they have a place. So by
Yeah.
treating them with that respect and everything else, they will step up and take those roles on. Then you can go and work on your business or even go on holidays and enjoy it, knowing your company's not just going to survive, it's actually going to thrive while you're absent. So the
Yeah.
relationships are so important. So actually understanding people, and people say, oh, I haven't got time to find out about my staff's lives. It's the other way around. You can't afford not to find out about their lives, because if you don't show an interest in them, you're
Yeah.
showing them that you're only using them,
Yeah.
and they're only going to do what they have to do. You're
Well,
going to have to
and
micromanage. And there's that many people out there at the moment micromanaging businesses. We lost a lot of them, thank God, through COVID, because they couldn't manage people who weren't at the workplace because they were working at home.
yeah.
But we still have some organizations that still have those micromanagers in there. And
Yeah.
until they fall off the perch and somebody else replaces them, we're going to have those problems. But the younger people are starting to come through and realizing that they need to build relationships with people. It's the relationships that cause a business to grow. Because when people say to me, what do I bring to the table, as in products and services, the only thing I can ever say to them in business is, I just bring the table. Because you put your products and services based on the relationships you build. If you can't build relationships, you never get a chance to show people how good your products or services are.
Well,
And so
and so
relationships are the most important. There's your table.
well, and that's fascinating way to look at it. But I also have two different examples of like a company owner, like, like, no, like I know my staff. I want them at my home. I want them, and and so they have the staff party at the house,
Hmm.
and the staff are like, this is too uncomfortable,
Hmm.
right? And then I have another situation. It's like, make the relationship. Don't worry. People are leaving the office. Don't worry. You are gold. You are gold
Hmm.
because he's made the relationships.
Hmm.
Right. And so it's also cultural, right? Like I know with some cultures, like of course everyone's welcome to the house. And then it's like that's not comfortable for other cultures.
Hmm.
Right.
And this is
And
why
and you just
understanding that's
say,
important.
I'm showing up with the table at the park. Whoever joins me, joins me.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's what it comes down to. This is why being able to not only read people, but understand the difference in cultures, etc. There are some cultures that is disrespectful for them to look you straight in the eyes.
Yeah.
But then people will go, oh, they're not looking me in the eyes. I can't trust them.
Yeah.
You need to know the other person. You need to know their background, their cultures and everything else.
Yeah.
Because if you do that, then you can build that relationship where they feel that they belong, they contribute, they're valued, etc.
Yeah.
And then they will apply themselves. That
And
people say,
some
oh, but I can't see the
cultures,
immediate gain. If I go and do this physical thing, I'll get this response from it straight away. Yeah, okay, that's tangible.
mhm,
The building the relationships is intangible, but it's a thing that will determine whether your business thrives or dies.
yeah.
And it takes time in some cases, and whatever time it takes, it will take the time it needs to take. But the more skills you got to do it, the faster it's going to get done. That's why
Yeah.
the profiling and everything was so important in business and even in personal relationships. Get that
So
right.
who are you looking to profile next?
Well, I went through a stage where I was called the celebrity profiler because I was profiling, media, or what do you call it, all the different, what was it now, the married at first sight, those sort of things,
Oh,
politicians, royalty, and all the rest of it. And this is when I started to get a bit of a notoriety because there was one of the bachelors in Australia. They asked me to profile him, and I don't watch those shows. I've got, brain cells I want to keep. So I don't enjoy the shows at all. But I got asked to do this profile. I said, well, send me a clip because I'd never watched it. And they sent me a short clip and I profiled him on that and they wanted to know about his character, etc. And I went, well, hang on, I'll tell you about his personality first of all. And I told them what I could see there. They got me on I was in Sydney at the time, so they asked me to then go to the TV station. I was on air that afternoon. And that's when I got the reputation, the celebrity profiler. And so I quickly got rid of that as fast as I could because the last thing I want to do is waste my time just profiling celebrities. I want to work with real people. I want to help people to make a change in their lives. I want to help them become a better world. Just
yeah.
doing that sort of stuff, yeah, I can make some money and be noticed and everything else. but it's not what drives me. It's the outcomes that are most important.
Yeah.
But as I said about him, I said, well, I told him about his personality. 12 weeks later, when they finished the series, his father confirmed everything I said about him. And that was from a 3-minute little clip.
Wow.
See, I've got a business coach over in Perth on the other side of Australia who sent me 5 photographs. And this is a beautiful part of this, because I'm looking at the facial features. I'm not looking at the twitches on the face.
Yeah.
I can profile you from your photographs. So when he sent me the photographs, 5 little photographs, one face on, but one from each side of the face, one of his hand, mainly for the structure of the hands, not the lines, but also the difference in his upper and lower body. I sent him a 45-minute audio. That was when he came back to me and he told me he used to be an undercover narcotics agent for 2 decades before he became a business coach. He'd used skills that he believed were 85 to 95% accurate over those 2 decades. As he said, if they hadn't been, he wouldn't be alive today.
Yeah.
But from the audio I sent him, the 45-minute audio, not only matched, but nuanced everything he could learn about himself in those 2 decades. That's how powerful the facial profiles is, and you get it accurate because there's no emotions, there's no questions being asked. You don't have to worry about somebody telling you the truth or not. It's all there. So the facial features tell me the personality. Now I know how to change the way I like to be spoken to match the way that you do, for instance. And then when I'm talking to you, I've got the body language and expressions that now tell me, have I read you right? So that's why I put those 4 areas together, 4 sciences, because I know psychologists like Paul Ekman, if you mention I'm reading faces, they go like that because they say, oh, well, that's phrenology. No, that's bumps on the head, which was character. I'm talking about facial features and personality.
Yeah.
As I said, if you work the muscles, it shows if somebody's really unhappy all their life, they won't get the lines up here. The corner of the mouth will turn down because these muscles get stronger. And the end result is they don't look happy anyway. So they're more likely to be pessimistic. If they start smiling a lot more, the mouth will start to turn up because these muscles above will get stronger.
Yeah.
And by the way, I have to throw this in as well, especially when I mention the lines that come out the corner of the face here, around the eyes.
Yeah.
I know that they've been given the terms crow's feet and things like that. Well,
I call
actually,
laugh
they're
lines.
laughter lines. Now, at the end of the day, anybody who's a mature age who does not have those lines virtually tells me they've either had Botox, cosmetic surgery, or they've been miserable all their life. For any of
Oh.
the ladies who are listening to this right now, those lines only happen if you smile really deeply, you're really happy because the muscles get really tight around the eyes and force those little folds out there. They talk about beauty only being skin deep, but ugly going all the way to the bone. In reality, those lines are beauty that goes all the way to the bone. If I can't see those lines on a woman's face, I know she's either had cosmetic surgery or she's somebody who's not going to be fun to talk to. And I'm not going to anywhere. I'm going to stay away from her. If I
Wow.
So
That's
this is
a
the thing.
fascinating.
We want some of the most beautiful women I've seen have been older women, and they've had these lines out here because I can see that beauty of their character,
Yeah.
not just
They've
their
lived a life.
superficial.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so if I can see a woman, she's got her mouth turned up, but she's got no lines up here, then I can say, well, probably she's had some cosmetic surgery.
Yeah.
Because these take a long time to get. This can change over a few weeks. If she's got her mouth turned up, it's not likely she had a miserable life and all of a sudden she's had some great times. It's more, if there's no lines up here and the mouth is turned down, I know that person's had a tough time. So if I go and talk to them, if I'm in a group of, large group of people, I'm going to look for the person I can have some enjoyment with, have a good bit of a laugh. And I'll hone in on the people who've got those lines because I know that person does a lot of laughter. And I know the conversation's going to be lighthearted. There's going to be a lot of, especially if we've got a dry wit as well. It's going to be a lot of fun. And so that is beauty that goes all the way to the bone. So ladies, don't get rid of them.
That's awesome. That like
Wear,
that.
wear them with pride.
Well, and I've always said, I'm not vain whatsoever. I'm like, I'm just who I am. And I'm like, stop hiding it. Stop. And they're like, I don't like it. And I'm like, but you're living.
Mm.
Like they're lifelines. They're showing you that you've had joy and sorrow and laughter and all the emotions. And they're like, and these are young people too. And I'm just um yeah,
Yeah.
it's
The sexiest feature on a woman's face is her smile.
Yeah.
Actually, it's the sexiest feature she's got, regardless of what her shape is. It's that smile, because we know that we can actually connect with that person. If there's no smile, I don't care how good you look in the body and everything else, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
You know, the time we spend with people, we're spending a lot of time talking and being around people. I want to be around people who are joyful to be around. If I
Yeah.
know they've been through a tough time and they're actually looking to change that, I'll be there for them, because that's a responsibility that we have for each other. We are a community, and so we're there to support each other. But if somebody just likes to be miserable, and some people do, because that's how they get their sympathy from everybody else,
Yeah.
then, well, if they want to stay in that state, I'm not going to be able to help them. So I'll go and talk to somebody else I can help.
Yeah.
That's like with my training with the profiling. I decided like last year that I would no longer just teach everybody. I would only teach those that had the right attitude to their clients, because I want to create and train my competition. And my competition is never my competition then, because they become a strategic alliance. So those that
Right.
want to focus on their clients, where it might be a coach, they might be a professional service provider of some form. I've got dentists, I've got chemists, I've got psychotherapists, what do you call it, hypnotherapists, librarians, I've got HR people, recruiters, even college lecturers, who have all started doing my course under the proviso. They first of all had to pass an interview that they have the right attitude towards the clients. I want to help people. And then when I finish the training with them, I then work with them to create a course that they can take their stuff and my stuff and then go out and teach everybody else in their field. So this is my way of getting out to more people.
Right.
Instead of just training everybody and just getting paid for that, I'd prefer to be actually training the people who want to go and train others. So I leave a legacy, and
Yeah.
I'm working with people that I really enjoy working with. So last year, I think I knocked back more people for the training than I actually accepted. I only train a small number each year, about 35 people in total, so virtually less than one a week that comes into the program. And the only way, and I want to get this out to the world. So I've
Yeah.
got online courses that people can self-pace with, but the people I train, they will go out and train larger numbers. This is how I get to thousands, if not millions of people through those other people. So again, relationships are important. Finding
Well,
the right people and hang around the ones that I want to hang around.
so I want to go back to, like, when does the face say you're having a hard time? So all of us can be more kind when
Well,
we run into those people.
there's a lot in the face. Well, first of all, you can see it in the body language. If somebody's going through something right now, they're withdrawn. You look for, and this is where I said before, you look for the differences, the
Okay.
changes.
Like
As I
their
said
feet
before,
are
someone's got
heading
their
out the
arms
door.
folded and they don't do their arm fold with their arms. But if they've been behaving in a certain way, you notice there's a shift in what they're doing.
Okay.
There's an ad that the English put out where two guys turn up the same time, to a football game every week. One's real jovial and everything else, and the other one's fairly quiet.
Yeah.
Anyway, at the end of it, one day the quiet one turns up. He looks at the chair next to him. The jovial one had passed away. He committed suicide. It wasn't the one that everybody thought, because this guy who was over the top, it's like with what's his name now, the comedian Robbins. Everyone said that was a surprise when he took his own life. We could see it was coming for some time. People who are looking for that, when somebody's over jovial and then you can see that little twitch in their face, the expression when they finish the joke, for instance, you could see there was something else going on, but nobody else could, because they weren't looking for it. Everybody was focusing on the jokes that were coming through. And so,
See, there's something in my gut that said he didn't take his life.
yeah, well, the
Like
depression
what?
and everything else he went through, the way it was up and down. So there was
Oh
that
yeah,
there,
no,
at the end. Yeah,
I don't
whether
just,
that is, well, unless we're a fly on the wall, we don't know.
yeah,
We weren't there.
I'm going from interviews I've heard from his family, and I'm not saying he didn't have a roller coaster life.
Mm,
Like you can't be that brilliant and not have some dark days. Like
mm,
you can't be on all the time. Yet that story you said about the outward,
mm,
guy, those are the ones that you think are always fine, that you don't go,
Mm,
hey man, how you doing?
mm,
Right? You need to talk, right?
mm.
And um yeah, I guess we have to pay attention to everybody, no matter
Yeah.
if they're quiet or like, yes, we've been trained to watch for the fly on the wall because they're never going to speak up, but it's actually
Mm,
the vibrant, outgoing that you think everything's fine that are the most lonely, that they, when they're out in public,
mm,
they say, I'm fine, I'm fine. But at home, they're dying.
mm. Well, people in business I see quite often who seem to be overconfident there, but I watch the way in which they talk to people. There's some nastiness in the things. They don't actually
Mm.
listen to people. They shut them off, etc. But they come across as all bluster and everything else. It's usually they're totally insecure. We look at them and think, oh,
Right.
they're really confident. We go, no, look at the way in which they're doing it. That is a mask. As I said before, those 4 points, everybody's wearing a mask, and the middle two, everyone's wearing a mask, and everybody's trying to say that they're not wearing a mask. They're
Yeah.
denying it.
Yeah.
So this is one of the things is when we're more honest about our own failings, etc., we actually move forward. See, one of the things I realize that every trait we have has an upside and every trait has a downside. The upside is where our strengths are. The
Mm-hmm.
downside is how we get triggered when things go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I was looking for, I used to look for my strengths, but then I realized that I need to understand my downsides, where my weaknesses are. I don't need to go and fix the weaknesses. Well, that's what we do wrong at school. We go to school, any part that we're not good at, we have to do extra work in. So we work on our weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
And we also take every child's a genius. We take them through an education program and they lose that genius as they go through the education to where we've got a very small percentage that still remain as geniuses. So by the time we got into our 30s, all of that's gone. But the end result is that we, in the behavior, is understanding that, oh, it's gone off track again. My mind goes whoop, onto different tracks, but realizing that every person has a gift. So when we look at the downside of our traits, I know what environments or what situations trigger me. And I've got some doozies on my traits. The ones that make me extremely empathetic and everything else and connect with people also make me highly emotional. So if I can hang on to other people's emotions. So I can be a real princess at times when it comes to it. And so if I understand that, I go, okay, what situations trigger those emotions
Yeah.
or those behaviors, then set my environment up so that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
If I've got in a work situation, then I'll go find the people who love doing that sort of stuff and give them those jobs so I don't have to worry about it. And I'll
Yeah.
do the stuff that I'm good at. But if I don't understand the downside of my traits, they will always have control over me. But once I recognize them and understand them, I have dominion over them. And that's the most important thing when it comes to it. This is why finding all of my weaknesses and that was a priority to me without feeling proud of it when I got them, because the other side of those was my strengths. And you can't have one without the other. As you say, you can't have an inside without an outside or upside without a downside. They,
And it
this is why
makes it
otherwise,
all of it
hmm,
makes us whole.
that's it. So understanding that and then setting your environment up and then connecting with the people who can then fulfill the part that you're not good at.
Yeah.
That's how teams are made, through differences, not through similarities.
Yeah. Yeah.
At school, who do we hang around? All the kids are the same as us, and we don't like the people who are different to us. But when we get to the workplace, we've alienated all of those people. They go to the same organization we're working in. We haven't built a relationship with them. Well, I want to know the differences. I used to hang around the kids that were different to me. I used to find out as much as I could about them. I didn't realize I was already on this track when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And that's understanding the downside of my traits was really important. Originally, when I started looking at them, I thought, oh, don't want to look at this because it's not good. But now I look at it with joy.
Well, and I was
Every
the opposite. I was a loner until they came to me. I like because I've always realized I don't need people. I choose to have you in my life.
Mm,
But that's just me. Um,
mm.
as we could talk forever. Oh my God, we could talk forever.
I just looked at the clock.
I know, I know.
Have been.
I'm like, whoa. So yes, we have run a bit long. It's okay. How would you want to sum up this conversation? Do you want to share the 4 pillars? Do you want to how do you want to sum it up? If you Good.
Well, I always like to say in that to people that remember there's, as I said, the most important thing you'll ever learn is the next thing you learn after you think you know everything.
Right.
Keep an open mind to everything and that listen to everybody, take everything in. But there's also an Arabic saying which was trust everybody but lock up your camels at night.
Yeah.
And I think it was what's his name, Bruce Lee, who had said, you know, take in what from what listen to everybody, take on board what serves you, ignore what doesn't serve you, and add your own flavor to it. So it becomes uniquely yours. And so if you listen to everybody, that's why the most important thing is the next thing I learned. I'll then take that in. I'll look at all those things without judgment or anything else. And then as I go through it, I see how that applies to me. And then I go, okay, I'll reject that or I'll keep that. It's like the boys, as I said, going through their rites of passage. We'd look at the other men and everything else, take a bit of that, I'll take it, I won't take that, but I'll take that, and create their own identity. And when you do that, you create something that's uniquely different and you don't have to try and duplicate what somebody else is doing.
Yeah.
Because how many people, like, you get people up on stage who are motivational speakers, everybody wants to become a mini them. You
But
can't. The only
can't.
person you can be, you
Is
can
you.
only be yourself because everyone else is already taken, as they say. So be yourself,
Exactly.
but apply everything to yourself and see how that works for you. That's
Yeah.
why the people I train, I expect them all to do better than me because they get what I've got plus what they've got. And at the same time, they'll create something uniquely different to me, which gives me even more value to it again.
Yeah. Perfect. I want to thank Alan Stevens for being on the Authentic Podcast. Wonderful conversation. Until next time, thanks for joining.
Yeah.
Wow, what an awesome conversation. Alan Stevens has so much to offer, so much to share. He has programs that anyone can join. I'll put the links in the show notes. And he's just a wealth of information. We could have talked for hours. I hope you enjoyed this one, episode 32. And yeah, we'll look forward to the next one. Again, I'm your host, Adele Bernard from Transition Clarity. This was an authentic conversation.